Hello everybody, welcome to Live Taps and Backstabs, the Pantheon YouTube channel where I just obsess about my favourite classes, which have always historically been rogues, but Pantheon has added in necromancers and direlords for me as well, so we've got Live Taps and Backstabs, which is really, really good fun. I wanted to talk a little bit about the rogue today, in terms of, it's just going to be a very, very short video, well, it's intended to be a very, very short video, just about some of the resources that we've got and some of the ways in which we can play the rogue at the moment. Now, there was a discussion that I was in on Discord today as well about soloing on a rogue, and some people saying it's particularly difficult. Some people saying that you can do it, some people say you can't do it. You can do it, absolutely, categorically you can. I'm only level 13 at the moment, but don't worry, I have had level 35 rogues in seasons and things, so I have played the rogue quite extensively. This rogue, as you can see, is a poor little elf, so he was stuck over in Wild's End for a while at the beginning of early access while I was getting ready and doing some other things, but I've made the run over so I can now kind of group up with some of my guild and everything and try and find some more pickup groups over here. And then venture out as well. I'll probably make the run back to Wild's End at some point because it's a gorgeous zone and I want to kind of explore over there as well. But soloing on the rogue, so down Boar Alley is somewhere down here, and that's where you can find the lower level boars. Now I can solo those, or I soloed those at 8, 9, 10. And then kind of ground out a little bit of 11. I think I got a group for 11, but then at 11 it just stalled and I couldn't find a group anywhere. Anyway, I've done 11, 12 and a little bit of 13 up here, doing these boars. I did these at 11. I did everything up here at 11, so I've done the boars, the bears and the stags as well. The stags are quite good because they rear up and don't seem to hit, so the DPS coming out of the stags is actually quite good for a rogue. Anyway, things that we can do. We've got some options. We've got one of the great things about the rogue is the variety in which we can build the rogue. So you've obviously got waylay or you've got backstab. As solo, I tend to lean towards waylay. There are alternatives. There are benefits for running backstab as well. Backstab is great in a group. Waylay is probably a little bit better in a solo environment, but it is weapon dependent. If you've only got an oiled metal knife, which is really, really good. This is the one that drops from the goblin camp, and this is a great kind of starter weapon. There's also there it is, yeah. So there's the cruder Sherium dagger as well, which is the starter weaponsmith dagger, which I ran for a while. 3 damage, 2.5 delay is great, but this one drops from the goblins. Really, really good. 5 damage and 2.4 delay, so you get a nice quick hitting, and you get lots of redness back. The knife, if I've only got this, then I'm not going to be running waylay, because that is obviously better than the cruder Sherium broadsword, which I get at the kind of a lower level. So yeah, it's a little bit gear dependent on which one you're going to run. If you have gear that's relative for everything, so maybe you've got a hammer as well and you can kind of pick, then you can go waylay for a solo class. Now the difference is that waylay, you don't need to be behind for it to do all the damage. If you look at the backstab, backstab is level 8. So if you look at backstab, you have to be behind your target, and it requires a piercing weapon. So backstab's particularly good for a group, and it's very, very good for a group if you have all the gear. So if you have equivalent gear of a piercing weapon, a slashing weapon, a hammer, a spear, and things like that, then backstab is particularly good in a group because you get to be able to do a little bit more, bypassing some of the armor from behind it, whereas waylay doesn't bypass any of the armor, and it just but you can use it being in front of the mob as well. So you're going to hit a little bit less with waylay, you're going to hit a little bit more with backstab. So yeah, that's clearing that one up. So some of the things that we can use, we need to, if you are going to solo, you can't just charge in You can't just charge in on a mob and backstab it from stealth and then like unload all of your stuff and hope that it's going to work. It's probably not, because you are going to get hit, etc., etc. So you've got to use all the resources you've got. Now, some of the resources you've got a explosive trap, which is hilarious damage. It does 25 damage even when you're level 30. Now, this is supposed to stack with some of the warrior banners at some point, which is going to make it interesting and kind of scale a little bit. But at the moment, and obviously at level 10 when you're soloing, you do have explosive trap at level 10. At level 10 when you're soloing, you can make use of it. So for sake of argument, I don't want to be doing anything too strenuous on this, because I'm kind of talking as well. So this is why I'm level 13 as well. So I appreciate I'm not level 10, but it does work at level 10, I promise you. So I'm using the lesser weapons as well. First off, make sure the weapons are poisoned. So you can apply the poison to this. Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to stack lots of different layers of DPS and damage on top of each other. And we're going to have a little bit of water. I'm running really low on food and water. So first thing is make sure that you've got your weapons poisoned up. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're going into the fight with full resources. So that's full health, full readiness, and full opportunity. Now, while you are stealth, you regenerate those, which is great. So every is it every 1 second? Every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds you're getting a tick up. Okay, that's important, because what we want to do is the bear is here. We're gonna open with waylay. Make sure it's not going to aggro. I'm going to make sure we're going over here. We're going to open with waylay, but we're going to do it after we've opened with corrosive brew. Now, corrosive brew reduces the armor class by 25%. So every hit we are making on the mob, we're going to be doing more damage if we put the corrosive brew on first. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a trap down here. So there's our trap. That's going to stay there for a little while. We're going to walk up to the mob. We're going to waste 2 seconds worth of sinister strikes to get our opportunity back. So watch. So we're going to go sinister strikes. As soon as this comes back, we're going to throw corrosive brew on there, and then we're going to come out, and we haven't gone. So we've got our things on here. So this isn't going well already, but now we can stack up. And I clicked that one as well. I'm not playing very well because I'm talking at the same time. We're going to stack up all our damage from this. Try and get all the dots on there. You don't get this dot at level 10. I apologise. That one's a slightly later dot. And then it's going to run away. There we go. Right, let's try and do this one again a little bit more efficiently. Okay. So, waylay. What weapon have I got? This one's okay. So the oiled metal chopper. Let's use that one. So we've got to actually... Let's just use a broadsword. Okay. So we've got a broadsword, just basic Crudashirian broadsword, and a Crudashirian dagger. So we've got base starting point daggers. Make sure we have our poison on. This is what happens when you try and do things live, which is what I wanted to do. So let's go take this one. This is it's a blue con. These were white and yellow when I was killing them at level 11, and you can kill them white and yellow at level 10 and 9 down in Boar Alley as well. So you can do all those as well. Boar Alley, there's a few less of them because you can do about 4 or 5 up and down Boar Alley, and then you can kind of rinse and repeat. So first things first, make sure that you get your full resources going. And then we're going to go over here. We're going to drop a trap down, and we're going to show you, hopefully, a little bit better how this all works. Okay, so that's full everything. So we're going to wander over here. We've got full resources. We're going to make use of everything that we've got. So we've got our poisons on. We also get ambidextrous at 10 as well. So ambidextrous, I have a piercing weapon in my offhand at the moment, which gives me haste, so I'm hitting faster. So I'm going to put a explosion trap down here. I'm going to orientate myself so where it stops, so I can pull him back to it. Right. So I'm going to use sinister strikes, and as soon as this one goes, We're going to click that, and then we're going to open up with our big damage, so the 3 mains, then the blackjack kick, and then the dots. So once you've done all that, you've used all the resources, used all your resources, you've used the explosive trap as well. When this one comes back, you can then do the shadow clone if you want, just to kind of dodge and just kind of finish it off at that point. Bearing in mind that this is like level 4 weapons, you will have better weapons at this point. And I appreciate completely that I'm level 13, so this is a slightly easier mob. So that's a dark blue mob, but I absolutely promise you I was doing these as yellow cons. The orange con stags, because the stags are slightly, occasionally they spawn at slightly higher level. You can do this with the orange con stags, because the stags for some reason don't seem to have the they don't have the pace of hitting, so they don't have a DPS coming out at you, so you can sort of almost like stun lock them with all the attacks that you do at the beginning, but that's basically some of the ways in which you can solo. So that's using as many resources as we can to try and get the maximum impact, damage, DPS, delay, avoidance with the shadow clone as well as we can when we're soloing. Now, like I was saying, the waylay is really useful when you're soloing because you're going to be able to use it in the middle of the fight when the mob is facing you. Backstab, as soon as the mob turns and runs away, any damage then is pretty irrelevant because it doesn't matter if you just stab it for 1. It's going to die at that point. So whatever resources you need to use, as many resources as you can to get that mob to turn around and run away. Now, if you are in a social area and the mobs will social, you do need to make sure that you have an opportunity left to drop some caltrops, so that it's not going to be running away too quickly. But literally, as soon as it runs away, you can just kind of relax and just wait for waylay to pop up and stab it or whatever. So that's the kind of the way that I would solo as a rogue, and it does work. I've done it all the way up to some of the higher levels as well. And why open with Corrosive Brew? So what you want to do, Twin Fangs, I believe Twin Fangs, does it say requires primary weapon skill of 34? So that's level 12. I think that's level 12. I think that's level 12. I'd go and have a look at my technique video. Go and have a look at my technique video to remember that. But I think it's level 12 because level 33 is level 11, and then once you ding to 12, you can then get to level 34. So you get Twin Fangs at level 12, which is an extra dot. So basically, you're doing dot damage there, dot damage with Bloodletter, dot damage with your poison, which is really good, and then you're doing damage with everything else. So making sure that you're stacking up all of that. One of the big things is using the things like the explosive trap, backing the mob onto that, to allow it to like plan where you want to see if we can do it with this one. Plan where you want to. In fact, I won't because this guy's here killing, so we won't take his mobs. But we'll just kind of quickly explain. Plan where you want to pull it. So you're going to drop the trap here. You're going to walk up. You're going to do Sinister Strikes. You're then going to do the Corrosive Brew, and you're just going to back up the mob, back up the mob, back up the mob until it falls over the trap. While you're doing the damage as well. You've got to be careful with mobs that are casting when you're doing that, because if the mob casts, you kind of need to stop so that you can do some damage, because casting means that it's not going to be hitting you, so you want to be maximizing that anyway, maximizing the fact that it's not hitting you. So if the mob is casting, for instance the bats here, at night time they cast Drain Life, and the Weaken spell, I can't remember what that is, but that's like 2-second cast. So every time it's casting for 2 seconds, you can get some damage in without any fear of anything coming back at you. So that's really good. So make sure if you are backing a bat onto a trap, just make sure that as soon as it starts casting, you stop, do the damage. When it's finished casting again, just carry on and keep dragging it towards that trap. So that's another form of damage. Again, it's only 25 damage, but at level 10, 25 points is actually pretty good. Same at level 11, level 12. I'm still using it at level 13. Now, that's kind of like the efficient use of all your resources, trying to get all your resources out. You want to front load, you want to use the high damage ones while you've got Sinister Strikes up. So Sinister Strikes lasts for, I think it's 12 seconds. Let me just double check. I'm doubting myself now. I think it's 12 seconds, but you're losing 2 seconds of that because you're waiting for Corrosive Brew to pop back up again when you trigger it. Yeah, it's 12. It was 10 seconds. So you've got about 8 seconds worth of damage, which means that if you are fully readied up, you can drop a waylay and 2 techniques in here. Let's drop those 2 around. I was grouping the other night. So these 2 techniques, weak point and hidden swing. So you want to drop in a waylay, drop in a hidden swing, drop in a weak point. You'll be able to get all of those in before the Sinister Strikes finishes, and then you can put the dots on, because the dots aren't as affected by, there we go, he's killing the mob that we left for him. There we go, perfect. The dots aren't as affected by the Sinister Strikes because they do little damage at the beginning and then they do dot damage as it goes on. So you want to do the high damage stuff at the beginning when you've got Sinister Strikes on. Use Corrosive Brew because it's going to be increasing that initial impact as well. If you do Corrosive Brew at the beginning, then all the damage you do during the fight is going to be higher damage because it's dropping their armor class. So if you kind of open, and this is one of the things that I was saying, it's really interesting, and you can tell what kind of rogue, what type of person the rogue is, or what type of rogue they are in a group or in solo by what ability they open with. If they're opening with Backstab and Waylay and Bloodletter and all this damage stuff, then it's very like, I'm going to do all this damage. Whereas what you really want to be doing is debuffing as quickly as you can, debuff as early as you can, so that the damage that you then do for the rest of the fight is magnified. It's really, really good. And that's going to come into a group conversation as well. I'm just going to do a very, very quick one tonight, just about soloing on a rogue for things like that. Now, soloing gets safer. I don't really want to say safer. It gets more interesting and more interactive when you get more spells as well. So you get all more abilities. They're not really spells. So you get, oh god, I'm drawing a blank on it now. You get, where is it? 1 second. Scroll down. It's basically an interrupt. So you get Escape Artist, Fan of Knives as well. Fan of Knives is really, really good fun. You get Escape Artist and Flash Bomb. So if things are going bad, you can make sure that you're up close, you can flash bomb the mob, you can Escape Artist, and you can get out. You can drop your aggro and you can get out. Now, Escape Artist has a very, very long cooldown. It's a 5-minute cooldown, or at least it was. I don't have it at the moment. I can quickly double check on the website. Escape Artist, yeah, still got a 5-minute cooldown according to Shalazam. If you look at my last rogue feedback video, I was wanting Escape Artist to be a little bit of a shorter cooldown, maybe a 3-minute, 2.5-minute cooldown. You can go and have a look at that video if you want. I think Furiosa on the feedback of that said that we were going to get a way of dropping out or dropping into stealth during combat as an extra ability. So that was the idea that I was kind of wanting to use Escape Artist 4, would be a way to drop back out of combat or drop into stealth during combat, so that you can do some of the other things, some of the other abilities in our arsenal. So yeah, very, very quickly, I just wanted to touch on things like Shadowfall. Now, Shadowfall, he does quite a lot of damage. Let's go and find that mob right at the beginning. Shadowfall does quite a lot of damage at the beginning. Now, it's a fun ability. It doesn't really synergize or fit with any of the other abilities, particularly when you're like soloing. Like if you're in a group and the group is, and you're camping lower level mobs, and it's quite easy. Maybe you're camping for some loot, or just kind of chilling out with some friends or something, and you're not pushing to the extreme. Then Shadowfall is kind of interesting to play around with and see what the highest damage is that you can get. But what happens, and I'll show you how you can kind of sneaky do Shadowfall. It's got a range of 25 meters, so you can be quite a long way away, and it will teleport you to the mob. So you can be quite a long way away, and you can see I'm a little bit higher than it now, so it'll let me do it. But if you stay on the same level, If you stay on the same level, what you can do is if you jump, you'll see it lights up. So what you can do is you can be all the way over here. Just check this, it's in range. There we go. So I can jump and then do Shadowfall and do 129 damage. Okay, so that just kills it straight off. Now, there's a problem with this. Well, there's not really a problem with this. It's fun. It's really, really cool to do that. Everybody loves like one-shotting mobs. It's really, really cool. That's 129 damage. Now, what you can do is you can do a Sinister Strikes first, but Sinister Strikes takes off all of your opportunity. Okay, so then you've got to wait 6 seconds to get 3 opportunities so that you can cast Shadowfall, and Shadowfall uses all of your 3 opportunity. So you could, if you wanted, do 50% more damage, 50% more damage on a Shadowfall, but then you will have no resources. You don't have. You could then blackjack kick to get back up to 3, but like if you're soloing, it will only go back up to 2 because you're in front of the mob, you're not behind it. And then you can drop Bloodletter on, and then you go back down to 1 again, and then you're pretty much out of. You can't corrosive brew or anything, so you can't corrosive brew before you do Shadowfall. Nothing like that. So Shadowfall is, in of itself, an ability that you can just use to have fun and like one-shot mobs like that, which is really fun, really cool. Like I say, if you're in an easy group and you just want to kind of keep an eye on it and see what the highest damage you can do is, then have a play around with that. It doesn't synergize very well, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So it doesn't synergize with the rest of the abilities that we have. It's awesome. It's cool. It's like Shadow Step. I love Shadow Step. As soon as I got Shadow Step, it didn't come off my ability bar for like a week because I was just Shadow Stepping all around. It's really, really good fun. So yeah, that's Shadowfall. Yes, you can do a shitload of damage. You can do 129 damage, but then you can't do any more of this stuff because you're out of resources. You can't stack it with Sinister Strikes. You can't stack it with Corrosive Brew. Like even if you start the fight with this, you then don't have enough opportunity to come in with Corrosive Brew before you then Blackjack Kick. And then if you Blackjack Kick and then Corrosive Brew, you then don't have any opportunity at all to do any Bloodletter dots. So Shadowfall's great. Personally, I would prefer to do 60 damage with this, 60 damage with that, 60 damage with that, and then I've got 180 damage, and then I've still got all my opportunity to play around with as well. So yeah, Shadowfall's a funny one. It's really cool. It just doesn't kind of fit particularly well. Like imagine if I was duoing with a rogue, that might be quite good fun actually. So the one rogue can grow in with Corrosive Brew, drop the armor class by 25%, and then Shadowfall will bypass a further 20% of that armor class. That might be quite cool, and you can kind of double trigger that. That might be quite fun. So yeah, that's the Shadowfall combination. Now, if you were going to backstab, in here instead of waylay, let's just throw backstab in. The way you would do, there it is. Let's get rid of that. There we go. The way you would do it as a backstab, and this is pretty much dependent on what weapons you have. So maybe you have, where are we? Where's the really cool spear? Oh, is that a battle spear? What's happened there? Crude short spear. Oh, I've got bugged. So I've got a crude M1 short spear, which is 0 damage and 20 delay, and also a battle spear, which is 0 damage, 20 delay, and requires level 2. Right, so that one should be fine. So if I put a spear in here, I absolutely love spears. My guild. I'm slightly infamous in my guild as a rogue who loves spears. Yeah. So if we throw, I always try and have a dagger in my offhand because I like my haste. The ambidextrous bonuses, so piercing will give you 5% haste, slashing will reduce your offhand damage penalty by 10%. That's negligible. Like if you're hitting for 5s, you might hit for 6s with this, so that's negligible. Slashing, I would argue, is very rarely ever anything that you would put in your offhand. And blunt, again, it's in my feedback video for the rogue from the seasons. Blunt, granting an offhand 5% chance to stun for 1 second. It's just, if you hit the mob 20 times in a fight, you might stun it once. So I tend to always have the fastest delay dagger that I can in my offhand, so that I can get some haste on there. And then the main hand is the one that's going to be affecting things like the debuffs as well. But we'll do the debuffs in another video. Don't worry. The debuff thing is fascinating and really, really cool. So there we go. If we are going in with a backstab, we'll do exactly the same. We'll drop the explosive trap down. Dink. There we go. So we'll drop the explosive trap down here. We'll make sure that we're behind the mob, come up to the mob, hit our sinister strikes, wait for the corrosive brew to kick in, and then you can backstab corrosive brew, hidden swing, weak point, and then hopefully backstab again before the sinister strike finishes. But again, I'd always start with corrosive. I'd always get that corrosive brew in as early as you can, and the only reason we are doing that backstab first is because we are forced to, because we've got the short spear, so we want to at least get a little bit of damage in there first. So we're doing 50, 60, 70 damage on this. Now the backstab used to be, and there was a reason why the damage was always slightly front loaded as a rogue. The backstab used to be that if you were backstabbing out of stealth with sinister strikes, then you would get another bonus damage, so it would be really, really beneficial to backstab out of stealth. So therefore at that point you're kind of trying to kind of toy up and balance up where you want to drop this debuff in. Anyway, I hope that is helpful. Rogues are, I promise you, rogues are absolutely amazing fun. They're really, really cool. I have a lot of fun with them. They are incredibly flexible. They are incredibly varied in the ways in which you can build and, well, not even build, just in the ways in which you can play a rogue in the game is incredibly varied. And we've got all sorts of abilities and utilities that can help in the group. Now, you can be completely selfish as a rogue and just have all your DPS here, and all you're trying to do is do as much DPS as you can. But personally, I don't think that's the way the rogue is played. I think it's nuanced to such a degree that you can have some difference when you're soloing, and then also you can have massive difference and also massive impact in a group. And we will do a group video as well very, very soon. But there we go. That is very, very quick. It's probably not very quick. It's a lot of me waffling. I apologise for that. But that is me talking about the rogue and how I have soloed. Again, I try and pick up a group as often as I can. I've got the guild going here at the moment. I'm going to try and go into Halnir's in a second with Sarlor. And yeah, that's just how I kind of wander around and solo while I am looking for a group, or while because I play on a US server, but I'm in the UK, so early morning with me with a cup of tea before breakfast or during breakfast, I'll pop on and either solo or gather and things like that, and nobody's on the server. So that's anyway. There we go. I will now stop talking. I hope that helps. Please keep an eye out. Subscribe as well, but please keep an eye out for some of my other videos. I'm going to really try to do plenty of kind of discussion videos, because I want to talk about lots of things. I want to talk about clerics. I want to talk about rogues. I want to talk about rogues' roles in groups. I want to talk about necromancers. I'm loving the Dialord at the moment, so please keep your eye out for those videos, and I will try and keep those going as a bit of a discussion, because that's what I think would be really, really healthy for this community. But I'm absolutely loving it. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and as always, backstab well and life tap as much as you can. Thanks for everybody. That was a really, really shit catchphrase, wasn't it? I'll have to think of something else. Any catchphrase ideas, leave them in the comments down below. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care, and I will see you later.